I'm here today with Peter from 123 Sheets. Peter is here to talk about how 123 Sheets can make MTD simple and automatic for you. Say hello, Peter.
Hello, hope everybody's good today.
Excellent, and I can't wait to get started.
Great stuff. Thank you very much, Mark. Hello, everybody. So my name's Peter. I'm the Managing Director of 123 Sheets, and I'm here today to talk to you about spreadsheets and ITSA making tax digital. Just to give you a bit of background about myself, I used to run my own accountancy firm up until a few years ago, practicing from Guildford with a few members of staff and an office in the town centre of Guildford. I always built my firm largely on Excel, but I was quite well aware that lots of people don't necessarily want to use spreadsheets or Excel, and it didn't always fit the client base. You know, I was not going to impose spreadsheets on everybody. It was a sort of a case-by-case decision about whether clients' data should be on a spreadsheet or on something else, online cloud bookkeeping or desktop software. I'd probably say maybe about 50% of my client base were using spreadsheets, all the way up to sort of turnover about £8 million. So without further ado, let's crack on. So in December 2021, we undertook a spreadsheet bookkeeping survey via Accounting Web. We did so on the basis of anonymity. So we weren't just telling people who we were. They didn't know we were from 123 Sheets. And that way we weren't just, and we didn't go around asking people to fill in the survey who were just our client base who were already using a spreadsheet. So it was an anonymous survey via Accounting Web. We found that it was representative. It was a representative survey of accounting firms, both micro, small and larger firms. We had over 100 accountancy firms taking part. And in terms of the number of sole traders, those accountancy firms were representing about 17,000 sole traders. And we discovered from the survey that 48% of those sole traders, either the accountancy firm on their behalf or the sole trader themselves, were completing their bookkeeping on a spreadsheet. And in terms of landlord clients, the over 100 accountancy firms had 7,000 landlord clients. And of those, 49% completed their bookkeeping on a spreadsheet. And 95% of that was all using Microsoft Excel. And that's largely driven by most accountancy firms tend to use Microsoft Windows as their computer operating system, not Mac and so on. So most people who tended to be using an accountancy firm, the vast majority of them were undertaking their bookkeeping, if it was in a spreadsheet, in Microsoft Excel. Okay, let's have a look. Well, what is Excel? We're looking, this is going to, potentially this might shock you. So most people see Excel as just spreadsheet software, but it doesn't have to be that way. Excel is a programming platform where you can design all sorts of things, whether that's computer-aided design, animations, through to computer games in Excel. But Excel also has a lot of pre-built-in functionality that's useful for accounting, such as formulas, completion of filling data into cells so that people can work through quickly for data entry. So we'll look at ways in which Excel has actually been used as a programming platform. So this video shows, this is Excel 1997 that had this particular flight simulator inbuilt into it. That was used by the developers of Excel to sort of put their names there. And they did a similar one in Excel 2000. They had a computer game written in Excel with a car game that you can go around and shoot other people's cars. But you can see on the far left, there are credits of people's names there. This is more recent times. This is where somebody has developed a dashboard in Excel. Now, although you'll see at the top, you can see it's clearly Excel. That's there to show you that it is Excel, but you can actually make the entirety of the Excel ribbon and everything at the top disappear. So the user wouldn't even know they were even looking at Excel if they had some financial system with a dashboard where you can sort of make it look like almost any online cloud bookkeeping software. So all this shows us really what I'm trying to say at this moment in time is that Excel has a lot more power and capability than most people realize is actually sitting there. Okay, so let's have a look at types of accountants who use Excel. So first of all, we'll look at what we call the bronze users, as it were. So accountants who might be bronze users would typically only be using Excel for clients up to a turnover of no more than 50,000. And that's typically only going to be sole traders, landlords, probably not limited companies. And typically, these accountants don't know how to touch type, and that causes them a big problem, because if you've got someone who's doing bookkeeping in Excel, they're having to, on the one hand, first of all, look at the purchase invoice, let's say, and get the date from there. Then they've got to look at their keyboard to find out where the numbers are, put the date in, and then they've got to look at the screen to make sure they know where they're next trying to tab across to. And then when they go back, and then their eyes have to move again down to the purchase invoice, where they sort of lost where they were, and now they've got to try and find some other piece of maybe a purchase invoice number after having entered the date, and they'll go round in that circle of looking at the invoice, looking at the keyboard, looking at the screen, and then going back to the invoice, and it's extremely time consuming. So therefore, people who aren't able to touch type by just literally typing the keys without looking at what they're doing and tabbing across, they know where all the numbers are, they know where the letters are, and they're working with a spreadsheet where if they tab across, they already know what the fields are. They just need to be looking at purchase invoices, and they can flip over the purchase invoices, maybe just glancing once in a while up at the screen to make sure a particular full row has been completed correctly. But bronze users typically aren't doing that. They're sort of getting lost and bogged down in the quagmire of looking at 3 different things and going around. And so naturally, they're never going to be using Excel for a lot of bookkeeping, and they're far more likely to have to rely on automated input of data, such as bank feeds and so on, because they simply don't have the skills of how to enter in data quickly. Typically, your bronze sort of Excel accountant will have standard multi-column analysis. In other words, they'll have lots of columns going across, which really slows down the bookkeeping because they're having to tab across, move the screen across, and then when they've entered in some number, move the screen all the way back to the left to enter in the next date. That just really slows things down. So naturally, people who have previously used bookkeeping in that way in a spreadsheet are not going to do it for more, for bigger size clients than 50,000, or just some landlords with a small property portfolio. Or even they're not even using Excel at all for bookkeeping. Maybe it's because they don't have any clients that have a very small turnover, say £20,000 or something small. So and they're not interested in that type of client. So those type of users who might fit into that bronze category don't even use Excel at all. Okay, so what about the silver? Who's in the what's a silver Excel accountant? Well, now it's somebody who's moving up, possibly up to £250,000 client turnover. The person entering the books is somebody who actually does know how to touch type, so they're able to enter the data a lot quicker without having to go through the rigmarole of looking at all these 3 different places to try to enter their data. They're able to type at least 60 words per minute plus. Things can get done a lot quicker. They're not using the standard multi-column analysis scenario. Instead, they're using a drop-down and filtering analysis. So there's potentially one single column that all purchases will go into. They're not having to have lots of different columns. And all they might do is just literally type in T, and then travel expenses will come up, and then they press enter and go down to the next row. Then they're entering the date, purchase invoice, some narrative, and then the amount, maybe some VAT in the next column. And then on the last column, when they're looking at what the category of expenses again, then maybe they might be touching C, and then cost of goods comes up. They press enter, and they can quickly work their way down a spreadsheet quite quickly in terms of entering in the analysis. And people who do that are typically people who, and I speak for myself here, we did some testing of trying to use systems that did scanning of optical character recognition and pulling in the data, sending it up to the cloud, and then having to just double check. We did testing on that when I had my account. This is probably, I guess, sort of 2014, 2015, when there was, bank receipt and some other ones. And we found it was actually just a lot slower than just simply just banging in the data yourself. Typically, again, you're probably still looking at people who are landlords and sole traders, potentially, possibly some contractor limited company clients who just maybe have a very small number of transactions, maybe a sales invoice once a month, and maybe sort of no more than 10 expenses, maybe some travel each month, but nothing more substantial than that. The gold bracket, which is where I would say where our accountancy firm was, we had clients up to about £8 million. So one, for example, was a building firm. They built brand new houses. They had just thousands of expenses, a lot of stuff going on. But we were able to do the bookkeeping and to charge £59 an hour for the bookkeeping because it was just far quicker than all the other types of software because we designed our own spreadsheet. And that spreadsheet was quite different to what most other accountants are used to seeing. So obviously, yes, carrying on from the silver, there's people who are doing the data entry are touch typing over 60 words per minute. There are drop downs instead of lots of columns going across. But the new thing about the gold is that you're using macro driven reporting. That means that you've designed a worksheet that will automatically calculate a trial balance, automatically calculate aged debtor creditor listings, and provide a general ledger report. That means that now we can move into proper solid limited companies with a bookkeeping spreadsheet. The platinum, now I would say this is more for large companies who do their bookkeeping in Excel. You might think that's strange, but it does occur. I have a friend of mine, he is an accountant in a FTSE listed company, and they do all of their bookkeeping in Excel. So they have all the usual things that we've mentioned before about the data entry. People are using touch typing, they're using drop downs, they're using macro driven reporting. But what they're doing different is they're actually holding the data in a separate database. So the Excel only becomes a place for people to view data or a place to enter data, but the actual data, the financial data itself is not held in Excel. So what that means is you can have multiple accounting staff using Excel that's connected to perhaps an Access or a SQL Server database that's pulling through and showing data. So there's a centralized database that different accounting staff members can be pulling data from at the same time. Okay, so now we're sort of moving into the starting to move towards ITSA and MTD. Now we've had a look at different ways in which bookkeeping can be used if Excel is being chosen. So we'd have to have a look at the client base in our accountancy firm to decide, well, which clients might benefit from using Excel and which ones it's simply not going to work and we're going to use something else. So obviously, first of all, you need to consider the spreadsheet capability. If you're in the bronze category and you're very happy there and don't want to be a silver, gold, or whatever, then you're probably going to carry on. Potentially, you might just use a spreadsheet for landlord clients, for example. A lot of people who run businesses also might have a property portfolio on the side of just a few houses. And it might be a lot quicker for you just to knock up a quick spreadsheet rather than trying to set them onto some bookkeeping software that will take a while to set up. It will actually take a long time to do the data entry compared to knocking up a quick spreadsheet for someone who's just literally got 12 rental invoices and a handful of expenses. So going along with the spreadsheet capability, you'd need to think about, well, which clients am I going to be using this spreadsheet for? And for ITSA, obviously, we're just looking at sole traders and landlords, at least at this stage. You'd also be looking at, which of these clients of mine are not interested in sort of management reports. So typically in my accountancy firm, we only tended to use the Excel bookkeeping spreadsheet for clients that didn't want reporting on a regular basis. They didn't want lists of this or some other P&L report and so on. They were people who just wanted us just to do their tax affairs and didn't really want to see any of the bookkeeping. The reason why we did that is because we didn't want to invest a significant amount of time in producing whiz-bang sort of nice reports to send out to clients. We would just naturally move them onto some other piece of software if that's what they wanted. But a lot of clients, at least in my practice, and I think realistically in most accountancy firms, most clients are actually just looking for largely a compliance service, but with some advice when they need it. Most clients aren't typically looking for, one of these accountants that provides all this added value stuff. Most clients aren't interested in that. I think, as I'm sure most of you will probably agree, but not. Maybe some people's practices are very different to mine. Obviously, if you've got a client base that's already using spreadsheets, or they're a paper bag job, or equally an e-file paper bag job, maybe they've already scanned in some bits and pieces and they're just sending you a PDF of all their stuff. Then they may be people that you might want to put onto a spreadsheet to have their bookkeeping in a spreadsheet. You'd also want to consider, who's going to be doing the bookkeeping. Is it the client? Maybe if it's a particular client who simply can't use a computer, you don't want them to do it, or they don't want to do it. So you'd need to consider who's going to be using, which of your clients might be put onto Excel. You need to look at the resources of who's actually going to be doing it. Is it junior staff? Is it a outsourced bookkeeper? Or is it the client? And also having a look at what's the best way of actually doing it. Are we looking at some clients maybe who have a large number of bank transactions where you want to have a bank feed maybe? Or maybe it's a client who doesn't want to be told you have to use this particular bank account. They want to keep numerous bank accounts. So it's going to be a bit of a palaver, or maybe they don't have, or maybe they have a lot of sales and purchase invoices, or there might be some reason why you don't want to, you want to be doing the bookkeeping more on a income and expense basis, which is how HMRC for self-assessment is actually designed, as opposed to bank transactions of ins and outs that might have lots of transactions, got nothing to do with someone's tax return, maybe some drawings or a personal loan to a family member or personal expenses. And if you're just entering into a spreadsheet the sales and purchases, which is actually the records that HMRC require, they require a record for tax purposes for the sales and the purchases. And of course, a bank transaction list doesn't meet the criteria as HMRC is concerned of being a proper record of a purchase, an expense, or a sales. So you consider, some clients might fit in nicely with just using bank transactions. Others might fit in more with having a spreadsheet with sales and purchases. On the bank transaction side of things, you can, Microsoft Office actually present this as an option in the USA. It's not in the UK yet, but in the USA, Microsoft have an option whereby their spreadsheet, their Excel can work with open banking so that you can download transactions straight into Excel. We are looking at doing that for users in the United Kingdom over the next 12 months. So, if you're interested in finding a bit more about that, do keep in touch with us. Okay, so you've looked at your client base, you've looked at your staff and these things, and you've decided, okay, which clients now are going to be good for spreadsheets. So what I'm going to do now is show you how ITSA MTD will work from sort of cradle to grave for those who are using our software, or it could be any equal, similar type of spreadsheet option for ITSA MTD. So let's see how that might work. So with us, you have two options to start with. You can use our Excel summary template, or alternatively, you could use our bookkeeping spreadsheet. So our bookkeeping spreadsheet is a spreadsheet that sort of fits into the gold category that we saw before with the type of Excel accountants. There's the bronze, the silver, and the gold. I'll show that to you a bit later with the features that it has. So you might want to put your clients onto that because it has lots of features on there that makes your life easy and for them as well, and enables fast data entry. Or alternatively, you may be very happy with the spreadsheets that you've already got. Maybe you've got some bespokeness that you like and you want to keep that. So then you wouldn't necessarily want to use our bookkeeping spreadsheet or hand that out to clients, or even some clients you might want to hand our bookkeeping spreadsheet to, or other clients to give your spreadsheet for them to use. So if you're wanting to use your own spreadsheet, then you'd use our Excel summary template. So how that would work is you could either insert our Excel summary template into your existing spreadsheet, or alternatively, you can just keep it as a separate spreadsheet. And you just use an equals formula to sort of pick up numbers from your bookkeeping spreadsheet that will then filter into and transpose figures to our Excel summary template. So let's say that you've done one of those two things now. You've completed the bookkeeping in a spreadsheet. What you'll then need to do is to upload that summary data or the summary data file to our website. So if you were using your own bookkeeping spreadsheet, but you are sort of matching it and working with our Excel summary template, then you can just upload our Excel summary template. Or if you're using our bookkeeping spreadsheet file, you would press a particular button in our spreadsheet bookkeeping file that will generate a PDF file that can be uploaded to our website. So you're going online, going to our website, finding perhaps the relevant quarter that needs filing, and then uploading the summary data to our website. And we then submit that data to HMRC. So typically you'll be doing that 4 times a year for the 4 different quarters, or it could be more if somebody's got 2 sole traderships or they've also got a property portfolio. So that data then gets sent to HMRC. Then in terms of tax return software, I'm using that terminology because you know what I mean. It's the year-end stuff. So you filed all the 4 quarters, maybe 6 months later, after the tax year's ended, hopefully not in January, you're then completing somebody's tax return. And what happens is that tax return software, whatever software that might happen to be, should have a facility to import data from HMRC. So that data that when you filed the 4 quarterly returns or the client did it, got sent to HMRC, the tax return software is now able to draw down that data from HMRC. That means that our software does not need to work with any other particular piece of software, because our software takes the data, sends it to HMRC, then the other software that you might be using to file a tax return can draw down those year-end totals for the income and expenses, capital allowances, and so on direct from HMRC.
Peter, sorry, just a really quick one, and I think this is you've already answered it, but Douglas had asked previously, is there templates we can make available to our sole trader customers to make life easier with respect to sales income recording? I'm guessing that's your use our bookkeeping spreadsheet. Is that that's right. That'll be coming on a bit later. I'm going to show you a couple of different options, including both, but we'll demonstrate both the Excel summary template and also our bookkeeping spreadsheet. You'll see both of those online. Excellent.
On this webinar, I mean, sorry.
No worries, thanks.
Okay. So who should actually undertake this? Now, I know that reading online, a lot of accountants are saying, oh, we have to now turn into big, giant, massive bookkeeping firms. Of course, you could go down that route if you wanted to, but I believe that you may benefit from getting a lot of clients to do this themselves. One of the worries that accountants have of getting the clients to do it themselves is they think, well, if they're now filing their own quarterly stuff, maybe they don't need the accountant anymore. And so accountants are feeling, well, I can't let my client do the quarterly submissions because they're going to now feel like they can do it themselves and they don't need me anymore, which may, particularly for landlords and sole traders, they may feel like they can do that. However, you probably already, or many of you already have clients that are already filling in a spreadsheet of their income and expenses, maybe for a property portfolio or as a sole tradership, and they're already used to filling in a spreadsheet. And they still feel like they want to have an accountant. Now, the way in which we would help to make sure that those clients don't want to sort of go off and do it themselves is that how it would work with us is that we have an agent portal, and the agent can create accounts for the client or a junior member of staff, whereby that account is basic in what it can do. It can only file 4 quarterly returns. It can't close off the tax year. It doesn't produce any annual summaries. When it then comes to closing off the end of the tax year to file what's called an end of period statement, just at the close of the tax year, the accountant will then do that. They'll then have a chance to review the data, make some changes, submit an annual file overriding the 4 quarterly data. So that if you work with us, then the client wouldn't have the ability to do that, to provide, to have an overview of the entire year of all the data, to see what's been submitted. They don't have that sort of visibility, so that clients can then feel confident that the client is then happy to file those quarterly returns, but the client knows that the year-end process and the checking of the data and the review, and let's face it, every client that gives you a spreadsheet of their, let's say, their property rental or a sole tradership, you always end up changing stuff. And they know that. They know that what they submit to you as a spreadsheet now is not the same as what you file. And it'll be exactly the same in this process. They would just go through doing their 4 filings, and then they're going to discover that obviously you've made a raft of changes to that. And so they're not going to, when you then come to do the year-end process that only they have access to on our software. So that they're not going to feel like, oh yeah, I can do this myself, I know what I'm doing, because it won't be any substantially different from those clients that you might already have who are just sending you a spreadsheet and you end up changing stuff anyway. It's this very similar sort of process. So I think that you would definitely be able to get clients doing their own bookkeeping still. You don't need to become a firm that just has this nightmare of every quarter, suddenly all your clients needing bookkeeping to do, and they just give you their bits and pieces literally a few days before the filing deadline. It doesn't have to be that way. Obviously, of course, yeah, and there will be times when the accountant does need to do it, because some clients, like in the building industry, for example, are just completely useless, don't know what they're doing. They need someone to do it all for them. Okay, so as an accountant myself, I built my firm on always trying to provide choice to the client. We never sort of shoved clients down a route to say, right, everybody's got to be on zero, everybody's got to be doing this, everybody's got to be doing it that way. What we tried to do is to say, well, you can do it this way, and this is how much it costs, or there's this other way of doing it, and this is how much it costs. And we were happy with either option that the client might have chosen. So equally here, you can give the client the choice. You can say, I know you're already using a spreadsheet, or maybe you're doing it on paper. If you'd like to have a go first on a spreadsheet, you can have a go at that. We're happy if you want to do that yourself. And then obviously we don't need to charge you for all the quarterly filings. Or on the other hand, if you want us to do it, yes, of course, we can do it for you, but there's this extra fee attached. And then, of course, the client then feels a bit more in control. And when the client feels that they have control, that means they're happy with what you're doing, and they're not feeling like they're being thrown down a well by their accountant, shoved into a corner, and then they start to look around at what other accountants are offering. So if you're able to offer a client choice, they like that. They feel a bit more in control. They're in control of how much it costs. They're in control of what they're doing and what you're doing. And they feel a lot more happier. Okay, so let's just have a look at the software then. How does that all pan out? So just bear with me a moment while I sort of change my screen share. So first of all, we'll have a look at using the template, our template. So that's where the user has decided, or the accountant has decided, actually, I don't want to use the 1, 2, 3 sheets spreadsheet. I just have my own spreadsheet. I'm very happy with it. I'm going to hand out to my clients, and we'll just tag on this the 1, 2, 3 sheets template. So let's just have a look at that very quickly first. Okay, hopefully you can see template in Excel here.
Yeah, we've got that, Peter.
Okay, so if you look down the bottom here, there's 3 tabs here. So in this particular example, we've decided just to put the 123 sheets template into an existing spreadsheet. So there's an existing spreadsheet with income. I've just made it very, very basic, so it's easy to see. Let's say this is a rental client. So they've got some rent for April, May and June. There's a total there, and they've got another one for expenses. And in this case, it's a very simple standalone property. They've just got management fees of, and then what you do is you just transpose figures across. So yeah, you get rental income equals, go and find the rental income total there and press enter. Then because the turnover is quite low for this person, for both sole traders and for landlords, if the sales or total income is below the VAT threshold of 85,000, you can stick all the expenses as one number. So you can just use this single box here, put an equal sign and go and find the total of the expenses, which in this case just happens to be just management expenses. And that's it. And this spreadsheet template clearly shows the profit that we'd be expecting to upload. So we then just save that. So it's £10,050. Then I can close that spreadsheet. I just need to now move on to our website, which is that one. So hopefully you can see a screen that says income tax returns to do.
Yeah, we can see that one.
Okay, and we're going to change the wording on this. Obviously, it's not actually income tax returns, but this is what we call it for now. And here we can see there are 3 quarterly submissions that need to be made, and there's an end of period statement that needs to be filed at some point. Now, you might be thinking, isn't there meant to be 4? Well, in this demonstration version of our software, we've actually already filed one that's in the history tab, and you can view that and amend that submission if you wanted to. Let's just go back and do a filing. So yeah, we've got somebody who's got a UK property, and we're just going to file the 2nd quarter here. It's got the due date. It's saying it's open. It's ready to file. So yeah, this to-do page basically sort of shows you what needs doing, which things haven't been filed yet. So let's just go ahead and do one of those. So choose file return. In this example, it's a UK non-holiday let, and we're not using the 123 sheets bookkeeping, which would be the 123 sheets PDF file to upload. Instead, we're using the default spreadsheet. So we're going with that option. And we have actually said we just want to submit simplified expenses. The turnover is below 85,000. So I'm going to tick that box. Then if we just think back for a moment, I was just filling in a spreadsheet a moment ago, transposing the totals across to our worksheet with a profit of £10,050. I can either now drag and drop that file here, or I can just go and select the file and upload that. That then populates the figures, and I can see, yep, the total income that matches the 10,500 income, and the profit is the £10,050 I was expecting. So yes, I'm confirming to the best of my knowledge those figures are correct, and then I just submit that to HMRC. So that's how it would work for somebody who an accountancy firm who has their own spreadsheets. They're very, very happy to keep going, and they don't want to use the 123 sheets spreadsheet. So now what we'll do is we'll have a look at a 123 sheet spreadsheet. So some users might prefer to hand that out to their clients or to do that on their own bookkeeping. So I'll just change the screen for that.
Peter, sorry, just very quickly, Roy just asked about how come you put the equal sign in? Would it not be better to just feed straight through? I'm guessing it's because you're adding that spreadsheet onto the back of somebody else's, is it? Or
that's right, yeah. So the accountant has already, in this example, the accountant has already got their own spreadsheet. So for the first time, I'm having to put that equal sign in there to pull it through. But obviously, once you've downloaded our template worksheet once, you can insert that into a master copy of your own bookkeeping spreadsheet. And then thereafter, in the future, for all the clients and for all previous filings, then the numbers will just automatically go in there because you've put it in as part of your own sort of template bookkeeping file for future use, if that makes any sense.
Yes, perfect. Thank you. If it doesn't
Okay.
answer your question, Roy, then please let us know.
Okay, so this is the 123 Sheets bookkeeping file. We've got two different ones. One's for sole traders and one's for landlords. I thought I'd show you the landlord one. Now, the beauty of this spreadsheet is it can become as simple or as complicated as it needs to be for the client. So if a client's only got one property, or let's say they've got a few properties, but they've only got one beneficial owner of all the properties, and they're not VAT registered, and they don't need any other sort of reporting, then you can really, you'd fill in this sort of settings first about how many beneficial owners there are, whether you're VAT registered or not, and other bits and pieces. You can name properties. In this particular example, what I've done is I've made it quite complicated. I haven't made it VAT registered, but I have made it so there are multiple beneficial owners with varying percentage shares of properties, because I know that this is a particular issue that some accountants have, in that there doesn't appear to be any software out there at the moment that is able to easily produce reports for a variety of beneficial owners of varying percentages of property portfolio. So in this example then, I've gone to the beneficial owners, I've put some in here, and I've filled in some percentages for properties. So I've got properties 1, 2, 3, 4. A lot of this actually self-generates. So for example, if I were to add in another beneficial owner name here, it will automatically create another column. You don't need to be doing any, all you would need to be doing here is entering in names and then filling in these percentages. The first person's name doesn't even need to be, or you can't even actually fill in those percentages. They auto generate from knowing what the other percentages are and knowing it's meant to be 100 to find the balancing percentage there. So there we've got 4 properties that have been put in, and we've got some different beneficial owners, and it's all sort of randomly different percentages in there. Then what you need to do is you need to enter in the income. So here's the data entry worksheets on here. So if we go to income, you can enter in a date, some sort of reference if you want to, bit of narrative. Then you can select which property it is. So in this, and this is very easy to fill in. So you can just tab across, you can just start typing, and it will just know which one of the property names it might be, or the next one could be 1 or whatever. There's various features on here to help clients stop them from making mistakes. So for example, if I were to put a new transaction in, let's say, and I put the wrong financial year in there, it will come up that there's an error. Please check for errors to the right of the row, date outside financial year. Oh, also you need to select it and put it against a property. So even if I filled some of the other data in but hadn't attributed it to a particular property, then obviously I know I need to do that. Just to reiterate again, this spreadsheet has been tailored for a client that's got multiple beneficiaries with multiple properties. If you go into the settings and say, no, there's actually only one beneficiary and the client doesn't really care about splitting out properties because he just wants to do this for his tax return, then a lot of these columns will disappear. So the property one will disappear. If in the settings page you say they're not VAT registered, then this VAT column will disappear. The VAT special column will disappear. The VAT special column is just to do with whether it's NI EU goods outside scope of VAT. So basically this spreadsheet can account for any sort of situation that you've got for somebody with a property portfolio. But if you turn a lot of the features off, it will make the spreadsheet concertina and lots of columns will disappear to make it very, very simple. So yeah, if I just get rid of that, it gets rid of that error message. Okay, similar thing to deal with the purchases. Dates, put a bit of narrative in there. With expense category, you can just start typing. So if I could change that to travel costs if I wanted to. Now this has actually been locked already because this has actually been put on and sent to HMRC on a previous filing, on the first filing. So it won't actually let me overwrite some of these stuff, which is a feature designed in the spreadsheet so that when you come to file a quarter from this spreadsheet, it automatically will lock the data for that quarter. That you can't go in, you can't change the amounts, you can't change which expense category it was put in, but you can't change the date, but you can change some of the narrative if you want to. You can put something extra in there if you wanted to change the description. but it won't let you change underlying important data such as the date and the amounts and the expense category that's already been reported to HMRC. There's also an other entries category. That's for example, capital assets. It's not an income or expense that's reported separately. So that's what that third other entry. Then in terms of the reporting, you can get an overview, first of all the data. On this particular worksheet. If you just look down the bottom for a moment, you'll see at any one time there's only one worksheet showing. So when we're moving from one worksheet to another, you don't see sort of death by thousands of different worksheets. You're only ever seeing one worksheet open at a time, whichever one you happen to go on. There's only shows, and you're sort of navigating rather than clicking on worksheets down the bottom. You're navigating by sort of going back to the contents page and choosing the one that you want to go to. Okay, I'll try and move on a bit quicker because I know we're starting to run out of time. Okay, so yeah, so this is the sort of general. This is an overview of the full financial year. You can change it into date by date if you want to find out, let's say, a particular quarter. You could order it by property name. You can then also change it by beneficial owner for a property name. So that shows the total, but it also shows that particular beneficial owner split. Then if I go back, you can also see a ledger report. So on the ledger report, you can select a particular ledger, or you can simply just select all. You can also change it by date. You can change it by beneficial owner name. You can also do it by property. So for example, if I were to choose Annalisa and select all, and then click on the update button, it will then give me a list of all the rental income and split by ownership on each one of these categories, what's inside each category with a total there. So that's the ledger report. Then in terms of you can equally file VAT returns through this spreadsheet. Our software already files VAT MTD, as many of you I'm sure are probably aware. So you can use this spreadsheet for doing both the VAT filing and also the income tax filing. But we'll just concentrate on the income tax because that's what we're looking at today. So when you click on the income tax file, the software already knows how many beneficial owners there are, and it will produce the 4 different quarters for each one of the beneficial owners. There's a detailed report if you want to have a look at what that is first, before maybe you want to have a check to see what's going to be sent to HMRC in more detail. So you might click on the detailed report first before clicking on the HMRC file. So let's just have a look at the detailed report one very quickly for this first quarter for Peter. Well, let's just do it for Annalisa, different person. So I'll click on the detailed report. And what that's going to do is that's going to generate a PDF file. So I'll just do that for you now. And I'll need to change my screen share because the PDF will pop up in a sort of separate window. So let me just try and wait for that PDF to be generated. Okay, that PDF has now been generated. So I'm just going to try and change the share screen to, that one. Okay, hopefully you can see a PDF file. So this one's been finalized because it's actually already been filed. So you can see a total here for all the different types of rental income and different expenses. And then there's an ownership split here for this particular owner here, their share of that. And if you wanted to go into have a look at the individual transactions, that's further below because this is a detailed report. So you can see what's included in the income. So the total of 70,520 rent, and that this particular Annalisa's ownership split share for each one of those rental, and then you've got all the expenses in a similar fashion. So yeah, you've reviewed that. You're happy that everything is now all good. So we'll just go back to the bookkeeping spreadsheet again. Just bear with me while I go to that one. So yeah, we clicked on the detailed report. We saw that PDF. We're happy with that. Then we're going to click on the HMRC file, and that will basically, well, first of all, it will say, "Are you sure?" Because it's going to lock the data so that you then can't go back and change something. Just as an added aside. When the client later sends you the spreadsheet, you may actually want to unlock the spreadsheet to change various stuff and then file an annual submission overriding the 4 quarters the client has set. So we do have a facility in the settings for the accountant, and we can password protect it so that the client can't go in there, and the accountant then can press an unlock button and unlocks all the data so that the accountant can go in and change stuff if they need to. Okay, so are you sure we want to lock this data? And the answer is yes, we're happy, we're ready to file that now. So we then create a new PDF file. And this one's just going to be the summary data only. There won't be the additional pages with all of the detailed information. So let me just get that PDF up here. So this is just a summary page. Now, if I scroll down, it doesn't show the detail. It's literally the figures that we want to send to HMRC. And the figures going to HMRC then are just these ones, obviously in the ownership column here for this particular person. So we've created this PDF file. Okay, then what we want to do is we now want to go to the back to our website and make a submission. So in this example, we've been using the 123 sheets bookkeeping. We've done the bookkeeping, we've done the first quarter, we've produced a file, a PDF file, by just clicking on a button in the bookkeeping spreadsheet for a particular beneficial owner and their particular sort of mix of percentage share of properties. So now we need to upload that data to HMRC. So we go to the 123 sheets website, we click on the file return. It was a UK non-holiday let. This time, we're going with the 123 sheets PDF and the 123 sheets bookkeeping file. You then go and choose the file, or again, you can drag and drop in there. Let me see, which one was it? It was to that one, maybe. And then you'd hold on a moment. I've gone to the right place. Let me have a look. Now, I'm not sure if this is actually going to work, but you can imagine how it would work. Very similar to the other. I can't seem to find a file that I had ready, but you then click on the upload button. It will then pull those figures out from the PDF file, display it on the page, and then you'll be able to check it was okay, just exactly what you were expecting to be correct from the PDF file that you saw earlier, and then you just click on submit and file that. And that's how that would work if you were going down the option of using our bookkeeping file. Okay. Just to go back now quickly to
Peter, sorry, just really quickly. Peter has also asked, what if the client has PAYE and other income sources in addition to the rental income?
Okay, so what we're looking at here for MTD ITSA for quarterly stuff is just literally the filing of the sole trader information and the property rental. As I showed earlier, once you've submitted that data via our software or equally some other software, and that data has been sent to HMRC, HMRC will hold that data. Then when you later come to do someone's tax return, you'll open up your tax return software. And in that tax return software, you'll be able to press a button that will then draw down from HMRC the sole tradership or landlord data. But also, as normal, you would be able to probably press another different button somewhere in your tax return software that will draw down from HMRC the PAYE data.
Okay, great.
So that your year-end software is then taking care and dealing with that, and it's got nothing to do with MTD. It's got nothing to do with 123 sheets or any other sort of bookkeeping software that'd be very different.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay, so I'd like to say thank you for watching, and I know we've got some questions. Just to say that if you do want to get updates about our software and how it's progressing, then you can send an email to us to say, can you add us to your software update list? We're hoping to start to send out an email once a month about how things are progressing and when these spreadsheets are ready to get your hands. We're handing out the spreadsheets for free, both our sole trader and our landlord one when they're ready. And I do believe that in the chat or the question, I think it's in the chat, there's a link where you can go directly to sign up into the updates yourself. And if you sign up for our monthly updates, you'll get the news, videos, demos, and spreadsheets as they become ready. And you'll also be able to unsubscribe at any time from an email that you get from us. We always have down the bottom, just unsubscribe me. So it's never a problem if you're getting bored or you've decided not to use our software, or you're just simply not interested anymore. So that you wouldn't have, and we're only sending out an email once a month. So hopefully people will be happy to add their details. And all we're after is just a name and an email address. You don't have to fill in some long form with firm details, number of clients, number of staff, all that palaver. It's just literally just a name and an email address. That's it.
Brilliant, thank you.
And I guess now it's a case of going through questions. Is that right?
Yeah, perfect. So I have a couple of questions, which I'm just going to stop that. There we go. For me, are way more important. So if people want to sign up, how do they do it? And also, do you have your pricing structure?
Okay, so our pricing structure is basically the same as our VAT. We're trying to keep things as simple as possible. So our VAT is half price for the first year, which is if you just got one, obviously it's geared to how many clients you've got. So if you wanted to test it on just one client first, that would cost you 20 quid a year. That's including a half price discount for the first year. Then it'd be £40 for one client. I think and then the next band is 10 clients, which I think is then after the half price discount is then £80. And then after that, it's like 120 for up to 25 clients. It sort of gears up like that. We do have some accountants who have over 1,000 clients on our VAT system, and they're paying about £1.80 for a client effectively. We have, the ITSA will be exactly the same. So it'll basically be £40 for one client, £80 for up to 10, all the way up to, into the thousands where you're just paying £1, sort of 84 per client. We don't band it like other software providers where they say, how many number of partners have you got, or how many numbers of staff? For us, that's completely irrelevant. We're just saying, how many clients have you got? And that's it.
Great, thank you.
And then just coming back to the other part of that question, which was, I think, how do we sign up? So at the moment, we are not wanting to get deluged with people actually trying to file stuff with HMRC on the pilot, because HMRC are saying in order to enter the pilot, it's all done manually. It has to be done with a webinar with HMRC for every single person. And it's quite laborious and time consuming. So at the moment, we've already got, I think we've got 8 people on the pilot scheme already filing using our software with HMRC, but we're not opening it up for more people until HMRC make the process of signing up for ITSA more, less of a manual, laborious process. Hopefully that might be sort of October, November time this year, and then we'll be open the floodgates for people to start actually using the software. In terms of pricing, we'll do exactly the same thing as what we did for VAT, which is that if you sign up now, whether you sign up and pay, when we do open it up a bit more in October, November, you'll basically be paying a set amount that will give you access to the software until sort of August 2025. So that whether you started now or if you waited all the way until April 2024, it's exactly the same price, and it's always until April 2025. That way people don't feel like, oh, well, I'll wait a bit longer because then it'll be cheaper, or I'll get a longer license. We're not doing it like that. We're saying anybody who, whether they buy it now or they buy it in April 2024, your first license ends in August 2025, and it's the same price for everybody whether you sign up now or in a year and a half time.
Great.
I would say that if you do want to get more information, you do want to sign up when it's ready. Again, I'd say, use the link down the bottom to come to fill in your details to send them to us, or again, at our email address, support.team@123sheets.co.uk, and we'll let you know when we've opened the floodgates, as it were, ready to let people in. Just to let you know, in terms of our size, we have over 28,000. We're filing VAT returns at the moment for over 28,000 different VAT registered entities, and about half of that comes from accountancy firms. We've got about 1,000 accountancy firms using our VAT software.
Brilliant. Thank you. So this is most certainly a preview to what's to come. And if they sign up, they will get the information as soon as it's available in order to, sign up to your monthly sheet, email information. And then once you have released it, you will be letting your people know that have signed up.
Yeah, that's right. And we'll be, we're letting people know when and how they can download our bookkeeping spreadsheets and have access to do different things and different new features that come out for agents. So on our VAT portal, for example, we have the ability for accountants to obviously manage their own clients, to create a deadline system and allocate members of staff so that each staff member has their own schedule of clients they need to be filing for, and the deadline is given, and it's an intelligent deadline system so that you don't need to be going in and saying and putting in deadline dates, because our system, once you put it in once, we'll know when things are coming up. We can read it from HMRC. We can see when it hasn't been filed. So once a deadline's been just literally ticked a box and just said when the filing is for a VAT return, maybe it's like a March quarterly basis, then thereafter you never have to go in and set up any more tinker with any settings for the deadline management system to work. It will just go along and just tell you every single time you've got something coming up, and it can be set to be allocated to different members of staff, so each staff can have their own separate portal. And we'll do a similar thing with the income tax as well on our agent portal.
Brilliant, thank you. Got obviously conscious of the time, got a couple of minutes left. I want to get through these questions. Roy has also asked, does it link to any of the bank feeds or auto entry, etc.? There's a couple of questions about other software it links to as well.
Okay, so at the moment, we don't, our spreadsheet does not have access to open banking, but we're hoping within the next 12 months, we'll have a version of the spreadsheet that does, so that you'll be able to go into the spreadsheet and just draw down bank transactions into a spreadsheet and literally just go down a single column and just put T for travel, enter, C for cost of goods, and get through really, really quickly, far quicker than you would do on most other types of online software that don't give you the facility to do that. So we're looking to do that within the next 12 months to add that facility to our spreadsheets.
Brilliant.
So in terms of connecting with other software, so I guess just reiterating what I've said before, in terms of working with other software, like your year-end software, for example, maybe you're using Iris or Tax Filer or whatever it might happen to be for your year-end tax. So we're sending data to HMRC. They have that data, and all these other software year-end that you're using, or even other bookkeeping software like Xero, for example, they will be able to draw down data from HMRC of what we have been filed. And the only data that you're sending to us is literally just the summary top level figures. That's all we're taking from you. That's all we're sending to HMRC. And then that's all that's then being passed on to some other third party software via them drawing down data from HMRC. So that's how we sort of work with other people, is via HMRC.
Brilliant, thank you. One last one. And somebody has asked, why would I use 1, 2, 3 sheets when the VAT function in QuickBooks works perfectly well? So here's a selling aspect, I guess.
Well, I would say, if you're happy with QuickBooks and it's working fair enough, then I would say stick with that. But I think lots of people are also very happy with spreadsheets and can see how they might be able to make their firm more profitable by moving over onto spreadsheets if they're not already doing that.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you very much. Well, Roy has just put some feedback in there. Excellent. This looks a great solution for a smaller client. So thank you for your comments, Roy. And that's all for the questions. So I just want to say thank you again, Peter, and thank you for all of your questions to everybody that's watching. And we'll catch up with you soon. Thanks very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching our software demonstration with Peter Hamilton from 123 Sheets. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a great session and interesting to learn how much more is going to be coming from 123 Sheets in the future. If you'd like to subscribe to our channel, please do so now. You'll hear about all our latest interviews, webinars and software demonstrations, or alternatively, comment in the section below and we will answer any questions that you have with regards to the demonstration you'll see today. Also below this, somewhere on the screen now, you'll see our recommended videos for you to watch next and get the most out of our inspiring, challenging and supporting YouTube channel.